Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Jennifer Longmore. If you are not familiar with me, I am founder of souljourneys.ca and number one Akashic Record Training School in the world. We are going to be diving right in today to the number one wound that, I shouldn't say the number one wound, a significant wound that you're going to want to check in on and see if it needs to shift in order to move to your next level. It doesn't matter how you identify. This wound is still going to be prevalent. So I'm going to share this with you in a moment. If you are new to this space, if this is your first time watching, let us know in the comments so that we can officially welcome you. And if you are watching the replay, let us know that. But if you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from, how things are going in your neck of the woods, and we'll have a good time today. So let's see who's here. Just says Facebook user, so I don't know who I'm saying hi to. If you feel inclined to let me know your first name, then I can say hello. I always like to say hi to people. All right, so many years ago, I learned a valuable wound that needed, or I learned a valuable lesson, I should say, about a wound that needed to be healed that I had no idea needed to be healed. Hi, Carolyn. It's great to see you. So this wound back in, and you might be able to relate to this, back in grade 7 and 8, the people that I was friends with could be really nasty, and I could too, right? I mean, none of us were above it. We would be friends with someone and then we were ganging up on them and just kind of going through that sort of stuff. And I know it still happens in adulthood, right? But at that age, it's pretty or can be pretty wounding because we don't have the developmental skills, we don't have the comprehension level. We're still forming, right? There's hormones starting to appear. There's all kinds of stuff happening, and so those experiences can be really memorable, not unlike bullying experiences and so on. But for me, I grew up as an only child, and my friends were essentially my sisters, right? So when I say sister wound, it doesn't have to be your actual siblings. It can be just people that you view as being bonded with in a sisterly kind of way. Now, the thing is that they all had siblings, and they may or may not have viewed me as a sister, but I viewed them as sisters. I was very close with them. So when there was a betrayal, it stung a little bit differently than if it was just friends that kind of come and go. And I'm also kind of a pack animal. You might be as well. So if you're in my pack, like, I've got your back. So if you all of a sudden don't have my back, it's very bewildering. Now, keep in mind, at that age, I was projecting expectations onto them that they didn't agree to, just as we all do, right? And they didn't agree to be my sister. They didn't agree to be loyal. They didn't agree to be kind. They didn't agree to any of those things. But of course, my 12-year-old, 13-year-old girl energy expected that. And maybe I expected it because that's what is shown in the movies. Like, who knows where that came from? But all of that to say, I know many of us go through this experience where people give their friendship, take it away, and so on at that age. And this went on for a prolonged period of time. Now, when I was that age, I was also smart about it, and I was in a lot of different sports. I was in dance class and played baseball and had swimming lessons. I had friends that were outside of my school. So when they decided that I wasn't in their good books, I could go and play with other people. And I do think that skill was very useful, something I taught to my son as well. But I think that's why I tend to like to cross-pollinate even in business, right? I don't like to swim in the fishbowl too much. You're not going to really see me in a lot of fishbowl online type of things. I'm not going to be going to all the conferences that are like ClickFunnels conferences and Infusionsoft conferences and all these big like bro marketing kind of things you see. It's just not appealing to me. I don't mentor with people who are very cliquey in the online space. It's kind of a repellent to me. And I'd like to zig when everyone else is zagging. So that's just part of my nature. But I will say that years ago, I joined a mastermind, and some of you have heard this story. And everyone was talking about what they wanted to create. That's the whole reason you join a mastermind. And then the mastermind energy should be compounding that, right? Everyone's attention is sort of compounding in this energetic dome, essentially, and magnifying the the potency of our manifestations. And so I worked my butt off, actually, not that that matters, but I did work my butt off, and I changed my business model, and I quadrupled my income in a very short period of time. And these same women who, when we met up 3 months in person to our actual mastermind event, they hadn't made any changes. They hadn't implemented anything. They hadn't done anything. They were of the belief, as many people are, that if they join a program, that's enough to get them results. If they hire a mentor, that's enough to get them results. They abdicate a lot of personal responsibility and think that the program or the coach is supposed to get them results, and they do very little implementation. So that was a good chunk of the people that I was masterminding with. Not that I knew that at the time. But anyways, I went to this, uprooted my life, as many of us do. I had to arrange for pet sitting. I had to take time away from regular business activities. I had to spend extra time with my team to look at what they were going to manage while I was gone. I had to invest in a plane ticket and a hotel room and all these things that I chose to do. But there's a certain amount of stretching that we do, right, to go to these things. And so I flew down to this location, and hardly any of them would speak to me. Now, not only were they not speaking to me, I'd walk down the hall and they'd actually look the other way. I would go to sit with them at lunch, and they would physically turn their chair so their backs were to me. This was a good chunk of the room. Not everyone did this. And then it became my time to go to the front of the room and present about my business. And people were talking amongst each other. They were busy doing whatever. They weren't focused on me, even though they commanded the same expectation, right, for their hot seat. And it was actually one of the other women in the group who came up and hugged me as I was standing in the front of the room, and I got emotional, and I didn't understand why. And the coach that I had at the time called it out, meaning calling out the behavior in the room, because she was astounded too. Now, it was a huge gift to me because business has a way of bringing up the stuff that needs to heal, right? So I didn't quite get it at the time, but I knew the sensation was familiar, and I was actually really disappointed in them. I kind of expected more adult behavior from them, right? But I still, the gift of that mastermind, and this is true of any program we join, you may already have this experience. We never get what we need in the way we think we're going to get it, right? So my business growth was on the other side of that sister wound. I needed to have that experience. I needed to recreate that feeling of, what did I do? I thought we were all cool. What did I do that you're all of a sudden not speaking to me? I needed to go through that, because that was the thing that was holding me back. That was the thing that was unconsciously preventing me from going to as many networking events as I needed to, or joining other masterminds, or going into groups of women for retreats and so on. Even it was affecting the size of my group programs, the group programs I was launching, because some part of me was expecting for the tribe to turn against me, so to speak, right? So I tried to, again, this was all unconscious, but I tried to keep it small and manageable, right? So that if and when they did turn on me, it wasn't such a big thing. There were so many things that I wasn't doing in my business, or where I was contracting, because I was unconsciously expecting the sister wound to be poked again. Now, it can show up in a lot of different ways, and I've talked to many clients over the years. So some people have a sister that steals their partner from them in high school, or is constantly throwing them under the bus to their parents. So the sibling will do something really poopy, but then constantly throw their sibling under the bus, and their sibling gets in trouble, right? Meaning me or you, for example, where they feel that a sibling is getting better gifts or more gifts during birthdays or other holidays than maybe they're receiving, or they're getting preferential treatment, or the same rules don't apply, things like that. A lot of times our parents have a way of pitting siblings against each other, and then they're competing for their parents' attention, and it's kind of set up that way, maybe unconsciously. But they grow up and they're always butting heads, but it's not a product of their relationship. It's a byproduct of how their parents conditioned them, right, to vie for their attention, vie for their affection, and so on. So there's a lot of people that have a sister wound, is my point, and it can play out in a lot of different ways. So if you're expecting to be betrayed, how does that affect your business, right? Unconsciously. If you're expecting to be thrown under the bus, if you're expecting to be abandoned, rejected, gaslit, or competed with, or anything along those lines. If you're expecting jealousy, that's another one, right? People tend to take a bite out of crying. Like jealousy can feel like attack energy, right? So if we are used to having a jealous sibling, then we can contract from running our business in the way that we know we could, because we're unconsciously anticipating jealousy. Just throwing out some examples for you so that you can feel into what might be true for you if it is. But healing this wound is my point. And there's a few wounds, and we've talked about this before, and I'll probably create some other talks in the future around this. It's an actual trauma, because our sister is part of that. And whether it's a friend or like a sisterly vibe or an actual sibling, those tend to be our primary cast of characters, or our secondary cast of characters that we build into our soul's blueprint to help us grow. That's the kind of stuff that unconsciously seeps into our business. So when we want to make a quantum leap, we have to look at these kind of wounds. And especially when we say we're going to leap, these wounds are going to come up if they're ready to heal and if they need to be healed. Because every time we declare an up level, the thing that's standing in the way, whatever the thing is, and it could be external, it could be internal, usually it's both, it will rear its head very, very quickly to show us what needs to shift. And then it's our choice to do that. Now, sometimes we don't know how to do that. And that's where I come in, or other healers come in, right? To help us identify, help us to see through the stuff that we may not be able to see. So I hope this helped for you today to get your brain sort of noodling on where might this be present. What were your relationships like with friends, and what were your relationships like with siblings if you had them, or if you had them and then something happened, right? Sometimes I've had some colleagues and clients over the years who had a sibling pass at a young age, and that really impacted them as well. They may not let people in because they're afraid of actually losing them, that they're going to disappear for good and things like that. If this is an opportunity to look at that, to journal on it and see what needs to be shifted, it might be able to shift in your journal. You might do energy work on yourself. You might reach out to someone else that you feel that can help you with that. But I would recommend that you get on top of it, because it will absolutely impact how much you're putting yourself out there and what you're anticipating unconsciously when you put yourself out there. And it's the unconscious stuff, as you know, that trips us up. Now, if you do want to go deeper, I'm super excited about this, because I finally finished this really cool bingeable video series for you. So it's maybe like 15 to 20 minute bite-sized videos on my quantum growth method. So I'm kind of like the secret weapon to a lot of high-level entrepreneurs. They come to me to see things, right? To see their blocks and how to transmute them, to see their hidden jackpots and how to really amplify them, to see their zone of genius and have them calibrate to their highest potential, to see their future possibilities and their future timelines, and then how to collapse all of them to really just rise up into their highest timeline, and so on. So on a meta level, we do a lot of things that help them rise to the penthouse and stay in the penthouse. And then there's some macro level things as well. So I realize that I have a methodology, and there's some pretty significant techniques, I guess you could say, that I use to do that. But once you access those, they make a world of difference. So there is a quantum congruence technique I use, a quantum vortex technique I use, and then a quantum embodiment technique I use to help people make consistent leaps without the wobble, so they can just keep going up and up and up, but so that they can also exponentialize their efforts and have quantum leaping feel fun and easy, and work through a lot of this stuff without having to have a healing crisis, right? To just keep going up and up and up, like I mentioned. So if you would like access to that, let me know in the comments, and I will get the link to that. It's obviously a free series. You can listen to it in bite-sized chunks. Most people are binging on it because it's easy enough to binge on, and it'll ideally give you some insights into what you want to be working on, what wounds, so to speak. I say wounds loosely because it's not like we need to marinate in the pain, but there are some things in our cellular memory that need to clear. And then you can let me know what insights you got from that. So I hope this helped, my friends. I will see you again next week for some more business magic. So between now and then, I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.